You know that feeling, don't you? You walk into a coffee shop and the low hum of chatter seems to drop by half a decibel. Heads tilt, just slightly. Eyes flick up from phones, then maybe quickly away. You tell yourself it's nothing, just the door chiming behind you or maybe a draft. But that distinct, almost electric feeling, it just lingers like static in the air. 30 seconds later, the noise creeps back up to its usual level, yet you still feel the imprint of every single glance, every subtle shift in attention. Sound familiar? Good. Because today, we're not just dismissing that feeling, we're actually going to decode it. By the end of this, you'll not only understand the three distinct things every set of eyes is registering when they land on you, but also why those things often unsettle most people. And crucially, the single, most liberating reason you should finally stop trying so hard to blend in. Let's dive right into it. You've always sensed it, haven't you? That split-second hush, that almost imperceptible pause when you enter a room, as if someone just hit the mute button on the world for a brief moment. It isn't the lighting, it isn't your outfit, and it's definitely not your imagination. It's that quiet, often unconscious recognition that a living paradox just crossed the threshold. They don't see a stranger in the conventional sense. They see something else entirely. They see a mirror, one that for some reason just refuses to lie. It's like their subconscious mind is suddenly confronted with a reflection of something deep within themselves, something they might have forgotten or perhaps actively avoided. Stick around, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to hand you the exact subtitles for every single stare, every curious glance, and every intense gaze you've ever attracted. This isn't about ego, it's about understanding a profound dynamic. The halo of expectation. The very first thing people unconsciously register when they encounter you is a kind of pressure. But it's a positive pressure, like the charged atmosphere right before a magnificent thunderstorm. Psychologists have a term for this: expectancy bias. It's that subtle, almost magnetic pull. When your posture is naturally aligned, your eye contact is steady and direct, and your vocal cadence carries a quiet calm that doesn't quite match the anxious, hurried choreography of ordinary life. Brains automatically, almost instinctively, slot you into a very specific category, the handle with awe or pay attention zone. You might not have even uttered a single word yet, but their subconscious is already busily writing folklore about you. They don't just see a person, they often see someone who looks like the potential solution to a problem they haven't even dared to name yet. There's an inherent sense of capability, a quiet authority that emanates from you. This isn't necessarily about overt power. It's about an inner stability that suggests purpose and direction. This kind of perception, though, it's weighty, isn't it? Most folks aren't comfortable with that kind of free-floating gravity, that sense of a palpable, powerful presence. It challenges their own sense of order, their expectations of normalcy. So, they stare, they observe, often with an intensity that can feel unnerving, trying desperately to decide if you're a lifeline they've been waiting for, a source of profound insight, or perhaps a stark, uncomfortable reminder that they themselves might have settled for far less in their own lives. They're searching for cues, trying to reconcile the powerful signal you're sending with their existing worldview. It's a silent, internal debate happening right in front of you. This isn't just about presence, it's about a perceived destiny, a sense of being made for more, which can be both inspiring and intimidating to those around you. The mirror glitch. Now, the second layer of this perception, and perhaps the most potent, is what we'll call the mirror effect. Your very presence, without you saying or doing anything overtly, quietly highlights the often unacknowledged gap between who they currently are and who they once, perhaps long ago, promised themselves they'd become. Spiritual traditions often refer to this as the light that exposes the closet. It's not judgmental, but simply illuminates what's hidden. You don't preach, you don't flex, you don't even try to impress. Yet your energy, your calm, your focused intensity, it seems to ask a single, perhaps rather rude, unspoken question. What did you do with your own calling? What happened to that fire you once had? It's important to understand this. People don't actually hate you. What they often react to, sometimes with visible discomfort or even animosity, is the unpaid bill you reflect back to them, the silent reminder of their own unfulfilled potential, their shelved dreams, or their compromises. That discomfort manifests in various ways: the subtle squints, the quick side-eye glances, or the classic, almost involuntary up and down scan. Why? Because the brain's quickest, most primal defense mechanism against anything that threatens its established order is judgment. It's easier to find fault, to categorize, to dismiss, than it is to confront one's own internal landscape. Once you truly grasp this, you'll stop taking their reactions personally. They're not actually seeing you in that moment. They're seeing a version of themselves, perhaps the one that never showed up for practice, the one that got lost along the way. Your authenticity, your commitment to your path, inadvertently shines a spotlight on their own internal conflicts and choices. It's a powerful, often uncomfortable form of social comparison, where their biases and reference points are brought into sharp relief, the quiet power signature. The third element is a bit harder to articulate. It's more subtle, but utterly impossible to ignore. It's a field-like calm, a profound stillness that surrounds you. Empaths, those highly sensitive souls, often describe it as standing in the eye of a hurricane. Think about it. While most people are constantly leaking energy, tapping incessantly on their phones, bouncing their knees nervously, rehearsing small talk in their heads, or just generally radiating a low hum of anxiety, you somehow emanate stillness. It's not just a lack of movement. It's an active, palpable presence of calm. Neuroscience, in its own way, labels this parasympathetic dominance, the distinct vibe of someone whose nervous system has truly done the deep internal work to achieve a state of inner peace and regulation. Strangers, bless their hearts, they can't explain it. They don't have the words for it, but they absolutely borrow from it without even asking permission. You'll notice little things. Kids with their uncanny intuition will often choose to sit right next to you on a bus, even if there are 30 other empty seats available. Dogs, those incredible judges of character, will subtly correct their path just to cross yours, perhaps seeking a moment of that serene energy. And adults, surprisingly, will often drift over to you, sometimes in the most unexpected places, and confess secrets they haven't even told their spouses. You in your own head might still be thinking you're awkward, maybe a bit out of place, or just quietly observing. But they don't see awkwardness. They see medicine. They experience you as a grounding force, a quiet anchor in a chaotic world. This deep inner calm speaks to a profound resilience, a capacity to endure adversity and transform it into wisdom. It's a hallmark of those who have faced their trials and emerged with a deeper sense of self and purpose. This isn't just about being calm. It's about radiating a sense of being profoundly centered, almost as if you carry a piece of the divine or a unique spiritual signature that reassures and steadies those around you, even if they can't quite articulate why. If any of these three distinct signatures just perfectly explained your daily life, then please type "I see it now" in the comments below. Let the algorithm know this message found its right family, its true audience. And while the kettle's hot, do me a favor. Hit that like button and let's keep pouring this conversation. Why it spooks the room. Now, let's combine those three powerful signals: the halo of expectation, the mirror glitch, and that quiet power signature, that field of stillness. What do you get? A perfect, potent recipe for social dissonance. People, generally speaking, want proof that life is random, that things are chaotic and unpredictable, because that often excuses their own lack of direction. But then you show up, walking around like you're curated, like there's an inherent order and purpose to your existence. That contradiction, that stark anomaly, triggers something profound within them. Psychologists call it cognitive disequilibrium, a state of mental discomfort arising from a conflict between new information and existing beliefs. Their brain's immediate backup move, its go-to defense mechanism, is to try and poke holes in that anomaly, to find flaws in what you represent. That's precisely why you hear those random, often aggressive challenges. Who do you think you are? Or the classic, you think you're better than everyone else, or even, who made you the expert? It's not actually about credentialing or proving your worth. It's about them desperately trying to rebalance their own worldview, to fit you back into a box that makes sense to them. They're trying to restore their mental comfort by diminishing your perceived threat. Once you truly realize that this pushback, this resistance, is essentially just system maintenance for their internal operating system, you can glide through it. You won't feel that old nagging need to explain yourself, to justify your presence, or to shrink your energy. You understand that their discomfort isn't about your flaw. It's about their struggle to integrate something new and challenging into their established reality. It's a testament to the powerful, often unsettling, impact of someone who embodies an authentic mission or purpose, especially in a world that often prefers conformity. Your very being challenges their comfort zone, and their reaction is a reflection of that internal struggle, not a judgment of your inherent value. The liberation flip. Here's the pivot, the absolute game changer in how you experience all of this. Every single weird glance, every intense stare, every moment of observation is essentially a confirmation slip from the universe itself. Think about it. Awe and intimidation are just two different sides of the exact same coin. You get to choose which face of that coin you accept, which interpretation you allow to define your experience. When you actively choose to interpret those stares, not as judgment or criticism, but as a form of applause for your mission, a recognition of your unique path, something incredible happens. Your posture shifts another millimeter, your gaze becomes even steadier, your presence deepens. That micro shift, that subtle but profound change in your internal state and external bearing is what separates the called from the cornered. You finally stop apologizing for taking up multidimensional space, for simply being who you are. You quit rehearsing small talk in the elevator, understanding that your presence alone speaks volumes. You answer the silence in the room, not with nervous chatter, but with more silence, with a deeper sense of self-assurance. And suddenly, magically, you're not the odd one out anymore. You become the reference point. You become the quiet center around which others orient themselves. This is about embracing your unique path, your divine calling, and understanding that your journey, with all its trials and insights, is meant to inspire, even if it initially unsettles. It's about stepping fully into that space you were always meant to occupy, without permission or apology. Quick pit stop here. If you're craving more translations of spiritual body language, if you want to understand the deeper meanings behind these everyday interactions, then make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. The very next upload is going to dive deep into why doors seem to open effortlessly for you the moment you finally stop knocking. You won't want to miss it. Protective detachment. Knowing that you're being constantly scanned, perpetually observed, can honestly feel a lot like living inside a glass booth, exposed to every single gaze. But the antidote, the real solution, isn't to hide yourself away or to try and become invisible. It's about cultivating something called selective permeability. Picture a coffee filter for a moment. It allows the rich, valuable flavor to pass through, but it effectively keeps all the bitter grit, all the unwanted residue, firmly behind. That's the kind of boundary we're talking about. Practice answering questions with exactly one sentence more than they expected. Then, with a calm and deliberate grace, return your attention inward. This isn't rudeness. It's a subtle, yet powerful act of self-preservation. That tiny, consistent boundary trains people, over time, that proximity to your energy and your wisdom is certainly possible, but full possession of your time, your energy, or your inner world is absolutely not. You're accessible, but you are not entirely available for their projections or demands. Over time, you'll notice a fascinating shift. The stares begin to lose their desperate, probing edge. They start to acquire something closer to genuine respect or even reverence. They still look, yes, but now they look for guidance, for inspiration, for a quiet example to follow, rather than for loopholes, for weaknesses, or for ways to pull you down. You become a source of strength, not a target for their insecurities. This detachment isn't cold, it's simply a wise stewardship of your own unique energy and insights. The responsibility clause. Let's address the elephant in the room, head on. Yes, being watched, being constantly perceived in this intense way, it is a burden. There's no denying that. It can feel heavy, isolating, and sometimes even overwhelming. Yet, consider this reframing. The word burden itself is just bur plus den, a somewhat prickly, confined room you're asked to inhabit. What if instead you reframe it as stewardship? What if you understand that you carry something profoundly important? You carry, often unconsciously, the collective wish for a world that makes more sense, a world where integrity isn't just a concept, but has a tangible, living face. That's precisely why the room often exhales when you walk in. Even the most hardened cynics among them, deep down, hope you're real. They hope that what you represent, that quiet power and purpose, is actually attainable. Your job, your sacred responsibility is to guard that hope, but absolutely do not babysit it. Don't coddle it. Your singular, most crucial job is simply to stay congruent, to live in alignment. When your private actions, your internal world, perfectly match your public vibe, your outward authenticity, then those stares, those intense observations, they stop being a referendum on you. They stop being a judgment of your worth. Instead, they start becoming a powerful, undeniable mirror for them. A mirror that reflects their own alignment or lack thereof and prompts them to fix their own inner compass. This is the essence of your divine mission, your unique purpose, to inspire others not through overt teaching, but through the sheer power of your authentic, aligned existence. It's a journey of self-refinement and perseverance, turning your trials into wisdom that implicitly guides others. So the very next time conversations hush and eyes inevitably lift as you enter a space, remember this profound truth. They're not seeing a freak, an anomaly, or someone to be judged. They're seeing a finish line they haven't quite reached yet. They're seeing a potential, an embodiment of unrealized possibility that resides within themselves. And that, my friend, is terrifying, magnetic, and sacred all at once. Hold your head high, chosen one. You're not simply being stared at. You are being witnessed. You are being seen for the profound presence you carry. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them try to figure you out. And while they're all busy deciding what tiny box might possibly fit you, you just keep walking that path, that unique, expansive path that made the box far too small in the first place. I'll see you in the next upload. Until then, stay luminous, stay grounded in your truth, and keep choosing the bigger, more authentic life you were always meant to live.